It is a new day. Light begins to dawn. Rays of life, giving energy, break forth in glorious splendor. It is the dawning of a new day in consciousness. The light of illumination begins to break upon you from within. You are a spiritual being, a light being. You have been endowed with 12 cosmic powers, 12 gifts of light: faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, enthusiasm, release, life. Accept your 12 powers. Burst forth into the dawning of a new way of life. Engage in the exciting exploration of your 12 powers with a minister, psychotherapist, and medical doctor as they creatively use a whole brain learning method. Follow the lead of seasoned professionals and develop your power of will.
Yes, you interviewed him and you like him? All right, good. Let's bring him on board. Yeah, great idea, great idea. Okay, get back to me on it, will you? Okay, thanks. Will is a spiritual power, one of our 12 primary powers. It's our executive ability. Have you ever thought of yourself as an executive? Or even more, as the chief executive officer of your life, the CEO? Now, you may not work in an executive office and have a desk and like this and this kind of a job, but you are an executive. And I see all of us as being in a partnership with the higher power. We're all part of and a partner in a great enterprise, a universal incorporation of all good. It's a dynamic and multinational, multicultural, multiracial, multi-everything enterprise. I am appointed and charged with being a CEO of my life. I have executive power over how God's limitless good is managed and allocated in my life. I've decided to go to the conference in Chicago. Can you make the arrangements for me right away?
Of course.
Thank you. I make decisions, and then I follow through on them and carry them out in my life. My executive power is my will power. Now, we've heard a lot about willpower and how much willpower do you have to stay on that diet or stop smoking. But I'm talking about a greater understanding of our willpower than just those efforts that we make to stay on a diet or stop smoking, as important as these are. Will is our spiritual power that enables us to do things. I make executive decisions and then I execute, that is, carry out those decisions. I will successfully run the business of my life. I will be prosperous. I will make it through school. I will get to places on time. I will be orderly and efficient in organizing my life. I will choose relationships that are positive. I will let peace begin with me. These are acting as an executive, all of us, a CEO. These are ways I cooperate more fully with the divine will called God's will. And remember, God's will is always goodwill, a desire that only the very highest good comes to me, to you, and to all people. This is the will of God. At the same time, you and I have free will. I can choose, I can express my free will, and I can reject my good. I may try to operate strictly on my own, and I may hurt myself and others. Or I can cooperate with my higher partner, my power within. And I flourish, and I prosper, and I find fulfillment in amazing ways.
Our executive ability, our power of will, externalizes in our physical body as our respiratory system, which includes our nose, our nasal cavity, our sinuses, our throat, our windpipe, the two bronchi, the bronchioles, and our two lungs. When we breathe in, we breathe air and oxygen into our lungs, all the way down into the tiny sacs that are called alveoli. And here the oxygen diffuses into the blood, which carries it to every cell of our body. Oxygen is the spark of life, the fire of life. And when it combines with glucose in the cells, it provides the energy, the life force, which powers all of the body's activities. So how does our faculty of will correlate with breathing in our respiratory system? Well, in the biblical story of creation, in the book of Genesis, it says, "The Lord God formed man of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being." So, our Father, Mother, Creator willed us to live. Breathe this divine will right into our respiratory system. And our Creator's will for us is that we be healthy and filled with energy, and that we live life abundantly. Each time that we breathe the air and life-giving oxygen into our lungs, we are fulfilling this divine will. However, we always do have a choice. We have free will. Just as we breathe in and out about 15 times every minute, so too do we make many decisions every minute, every hour, every day. And each choice that we make affects the health of our respiratory system, as well as our whole body. For example, consider smoking. It begins as a free will choice, and then people continue to smoke even when they know that it causes all kinds of lung diseases, including lung cancer. Tobacco companies make the choice to produce and to promote their product. Is this the will of God who breathes life into us? Well, obviously not. When people around the planet stop smoking, this one collective decision will do more to heal humanity than perhaps any other physical action. So let's visualize this happening and let it be soon. The way we use our power of will influences not only our own health, but also the health of others. For example, there was this classic study of children with asthma, and in this disorder, the bronchioles in the lungs close down, making it hard or impossible to breathe. Researchers found that these children saw their parents as being domineering, as harshly imposing their will upon them. And if the children did not meet up to their parents' will for them, then the parents were rejecting and cold. We might say that the parents had too much will and the wrong kind of will and not enough love. So the researchers noted this, and they made a decision to send the parents on a paid vacation. Guess what happened with the children? Half of them improved without any other treatment. Our choices, our power of will, have a tremendous influence on our body. In another study, this one with adult asthmatics, researchers told them there was a large amount of pollen in the room, but actually no pollen was present. However, about half of the asthmatics developed a full-blown asthmatic attack. We always have a choice about what we believe, about how we are to act, about the health of our body. So let's make good choices, healthy choices, loving choices. We always want to remember and to reaffirm that God's will for us is good. It is good will, not ill will. And when we breathe in, let's breathe this goodwill right into our respiratory system.
Before David and I met, I'd chosen people to be in my life that I thought would be good for me. I'll tell you, I met with a fair share of hurt and pain and frustration. If this story I'm about to tell you had not happened to me personally, I would probably doubt its authenticity. But this really happened. One day, as I was sitting in the church alone after the midweek service, there was a deep sadness in my heart. I was divorced, not in a relationship, and feeling a great deal of doubt about any future relationships in my life. So as I sat in church, I was praying in a way I had never prayed before. I remember so clearly, I said, "God, I surrender." And the tears flowed. I had done a poor job choosing people to be in a relationship with. So, God, I surrender that to you. And I thought of how important a good relationship was to me. I'm a partnership kind of person. I work best in a team, and I love the companionship and nurturing a good relationship can bring. I ended my prayer by saying, God, you choose. You tell me who my partner is and guide and direct my way. A voice behind me spoke. It made me jump a little bit.
Williamson.
Before I could turn around, I heard David Williamson. When I looked behind me, to my amazement, no one was there. But I felt this incredible deep peace come over me. I really didn't know who David Williamson was, but I had this calm assurance I would find out in the right way and at the right time. Did I know him? Had I seen him somewhere? Had someone told me about him? How would I find him and meet him? What is supposed to happen? When? Where? All I had was a name, mysteriously received in a moment of openness and humility. And in a wonderful series of synchronicities, we came together. Now, the only difference to this prayer and many others I had prayed was the degree to which I had surrendered my will and my efforts to goal set and to make things go my way over to God. I said with my whole heart and soul, Thy will be done, Lord. And in that one magnificent moment of total surrender, my prayers received an immediate response. I yielded to God's calling, and I heard what I've come to clearly understand and recognize as the voice of Spirit. For me, my experience of having an immediate response in this way is not common. I work daily to stay in that flow of conscious awareness. The time was right, though, and that higher power truly answered and put me in touch with my beloved David, a relationship I probably would have never even thought of for myself came to fruition. The words you're hearing right now would never have been spoken. This TV program never produced. Right now, if I had not surrendered to God and was open and willing to follow God's will for my life and my relationship. Maybe you're looking for a relationship, looking to make a change, a new direction in some area of your life. Ask today, what is your will for me, Lord? Thy will be done.
I shared a while ago with you that God's will for me and for you is good. Do we remember this often enough? Do we really believe this? Think about what's going on in your life right now. Whatever is happening, believe and know for yourself God's will for me is good. God desires for me health and love, companionship, prosperity, financial stability, peace of mind, and peace in the world. I am willing to accept all of these. All of us have grown up with little phrases that maybe we've erroneously come to believe as true. An accident happens, a death occurs, or someone gets sick and people say, oh, I guess it was just God's will. Do we really believe that God has some perverse need to have us suffer and be punished? One time I visited a patient who was recovering from an operation in the intensive care unit. I walked into the room and he had all kinds of IVs in him and monitors checking his body constantly, and he was all hooked up to this sophisticated technology. Medical experts were watching him day and night. And I said, how are you getting along? He replied, oh, I don't know. I guess it's just God's will that I have this problem, and I ought to just accept His will. I purposely tried to shock him out of such a ridiculous attitude. I said, wait a minute. If it's God's will that you be ill and stay ill, then why are you in here with all these IVs and monitors to help you? It's costing thousands of dollars a day. All this care and technology is trying to get you over the illness. If it's really God's will for you to be sick, then why do all of this? You should be doing the opposite of all of this and just try to get sicker. He didn't really believe God's will is sickness. He was just repeating an old negative superstition without really thinking about how it flew in the face of his efforts to get well. Dr. Bernie Siegel, the medical doctor who wrote Love, Medicine, and Miracles, said, "Science is catching up with good feelings. When you are happy, every cell in your body knows about it. Feelings are chemicals," said Dr. Siegel. If God told you to be happy for the rest of your life, what would you do? Would you take God up on it? Remember, God's will is always life, and our life is immortal. We can know and affirm, my will to live is strong. I see much in life worth living for. I believe and know that God's will for us is always good, and we are immortal beings. Life extends beyond this lifetime and particular incarnation. I am always in the light, protection, love, and life of God. In that consciousness, we can truly say, "Thy will be done," and know the light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is.
Sometimes we receive news of a very serious diagnosis, and it takes all of our 12 powers in order to bring about our healing. And this is just what happened with my friend, Ken Williamson, who's the Unity Minister at Bloomington, Minnesota. Ken, would you like to share your story with us?
Yes, in 1988, October 15, 1988, I was diagnosed with a lung cancer. The news was devastating. I was quite shocked and didn't know quite what to do. But I set out to see if I couldn't impact the disease and help heal myself. I agreed with the diagnosis, but I disagreed with the prognosis. I felt that I had a lot more life to live and that God had something for me to do.
And I understand that you used all of the best that medicine have to offer you, but that you also used many other methods as well. Could you tell us about those?
I found the best oncologist in town, someone who was willing to work with me and to allow me to engage in alternative healing processes as well. I changed my diet. I started to take supplements with my meals, and I paid close attention to the kind of food that I was putting into my body.
And I understand you also put a lot of attention into your prayer and your meditation work, and you worked with others who helped you along this way.
What's amazing, I had been in Unity for quite a while at that point in my life, but I enlisted the prayer help of all of those in Unity and other denominations as well, and other healing practices, including the use of people in 12-step support programs.
And that is so important. So you used your willpower to move forward, to believe that God's good was coming to you.
I did indeed begin to use my willpower in a positive way. I also recognized that I had been using my will in a negative way, that I had been saying negative things to myself about me and putting negative things in my body, which were affirmations in reverse.
They sure were. And what was the result? You used all of these many methods and you learned to grow and to open up. How long did it take you to bring about your healing?
The process was very interesting. It initially started with my being very clear with God about what I wanted to have happen. I wanted the cancer to be removed. I wanted to be restored to health. And then my prayer began to change. Suddenly I stopped praying for the kind of healing that I could visualize, and I started to ask God that God's will be done in my life, that the highest and the best unfold for me. And I really believed in my heart of hearts that the highest and the best would be exactly what was needed.
And that's exactly what happened. You went through many procedures, you had chemotherapy, I understand, so it wasn't easy. This wasn't just a simple prayer and you got well. You really had to work at this.
Several sessions of chemotherapy, surgery, a bone marrow transplant. So much time was spent for me almost in hibernation. My body was closed down. I was unable to function normally. All I had was my thoughts and my prayers.
And I also understand that during this time, you saw this as an opportunity to open up and to love more. How did that happen?
I became aware that I couldn't stop people from loving me. I had always spent so much time in my life helping others and loving others, but I was not open and receptive to them loving me. Here I was, sick, unable to stop them, to tell them that I shouldn't be the focus. And so all I could do was be receptive to the love that was flowing to me. And I recognized that keeping the love away was part of what contributed to my illness.
That's fantastic, Ken. And so at some point then, God's will for you manifested and you brought about this healing, you felt this healing, and it came forth in your life.
It did indeed. And I recognized that though I had been involved in spiritual practices for many years, that they had only been intellectual in nature, that suddenly I had moved it from my head to my heart, that I was beginning to live this truth that we proclaim verbally and intellectually, that it became so important, such a part of who and what I was, that I actually lived it, I spoke it, I listened to it, I painted it, I planted trees around it. I did everything that I could do to make it a living truth for me.
And now it's been 11 years, you have a wonderful family, a wonderful ministry, you're well past that diagnosis that didn't give you very good odds. What could you say right now? What would be your message now?
My message, as I remember Bernie Siegel sharing with us, that there was no such thing as false hope. I know oftentimes when we are given diagnoses that sound grim, that we think that it's false hope to believe that we can overcome it. But Bernie said to me, there is no such thing as false hope. There is only false no hope.
And so we have hope, and we have will, and we have love. We have all of these powers, and when we use all of these powers together, then we can bring about these healings. Then we can bring about this rebalancing in our life and go forward and share this love and make these choices to help each other and to share with each other. This is the nature of our 12 powers. Develop your 12 powers and bring forth this healing.
How willing are you to keep going when you are given some challenging news like Ken? Maybe it isn't a life-threatening illness, but you and I face varying degrees of challenges and hard times. It's tough to overcome some of those setbacks. What do I do if I'm fired or let go in a company merger or downsizing? What if I'm in debt and having financial problems? What happens if someone I love, maybe a family member, girlfriend, boyfriend, rejects me and refuses to talk to me, or walks out on me, or wants a divorce? What do I do? How does will play a role in helping me? I had a girlfriend I was very close to who I valued as being a part of my life. We were good friends, and we'd had a rocky relationship with some ups and downs for years. And I sent her a gift for her birthday, a book I enjoyed called Love and Survival by Dr. Dean Ornish. And Dean Ornish had been in town, so I had the book personally autographed to her and sent it along with a beautiful card. Well, the following week, the package was returned in the mail, and the card was unopened. This hurt me. I felt sad that we could not be in a caring relationship. I felt rejected and hurt. Sometimes when this happens to me, I shut down inside. I go away. Have you ever felt this way? Unwilling to reach out, fearful of having to go through the pain or rejection again, not wanting to risk opening myself emotionally because I don't want to feel hurt. So I put the book up on my bookshelf, and every time I'd walk by that bookshelf, I'd look up and I'd see it, and it would remind me of this hurt and rejection again. And I thought, this is ridiculous. I have to stop feeling this way. And then an idea came to me. I could give the book to someone who was very special to me. I wrote a note inside the book sharing my love and enclosed a card and explained what had happened. She joyously received the book and said many caring and loving things that my heart longed to hear. She was so appreciative and receptive, and I was thankful I had come to another choice to reach out and share my love, a willingness that was more powerful than any pain of rejection. Helped me to overcome past hurts. Where in your life can willingness help you? Are you willing to try again? Call upon the power of will. Let it breathe new life and love and abundance into your life. Take a deep breath right now and say to yourself, I am willing.
You are the chief executive officer of your life. Breathe the will of God right into your lungs. I surrender my will to a higher power that desires only good to manifest in my life. God's will for me is abundant health and vitality. I express this will daily. With the power of will, I can positively influence the healing in my body. I am willing to overcome rejection by choosing new ways to share my life with others.
Oftentimes, when we are confronted with mountainous situations in our lives, it sometimes feels that we are unable to overcome them. Much easier to feel that we are victims. But you know, we aren't victims, we are empowered. We're empowered to heal ourselves, to bring about balance and wholeness. It begins with the kinds of decisions that we make about ourselves, the kind of self-talk that we engage in, the things that we believe about our own self-worth. We bring all that we have to the table, and in alignment with our power of will, all things are possible to them who believe. All things are possible. For we are not victims, but victors.